everyone, it's Mari. I'm back again today for Honeybee Stamps. I'm going to be creating this A2 size card that you can see here on the screen. I'm going to be using a bunch of different products from Honeybee today, including the really adorable Let's Get Crafty stamp and coordinating die, as well as the A2 double stitch frames die set. I'm going to be using the largest die in that set there. You can see I've already cut a panel from some white cardstock. I'm going to be using just a few of the stamps, including the palette, the paint tube, and one of the brushes, but this set is so full of all kinds of really crafty themed images. I love it. And there, of course, is this coordinating honey cut die set that cuts out all of those images. I'm going to start off here with that stitched panel that I've already die cut out, and I'm going to use one of the Honeybee Stamps large blending brushes. I'm going to blend on a bunch of different colors here for a purple and blue blend. I'm going to start off with some tumbled glass. I'm going to blend that on here. You can see I'm starting at the edge and blending into the center of my panel. Of course, you can see I've sped this up a little bit just because it's pretty simple. Just blending this onto my cardstock back and forth here until I feel like I have a relatively nice smooth blend there before I go on to my next color. I'm going to be using some of the gorgeous rich prize ribbon blue. This is the latest color in the distress line. So gorgeous. You can just see how it coordinates so nicely with the tumble glass. It just offers a really nice contrast and blend over the tumble glass, and you can just see that this is going to create just a really nice ombre blue effect when I blend those two colors together. Just going to go ahead over the tumble glass again and strengthen that up a little bit, and just going back and forth with the different colors until I have the blend that I want. Now this is some Dusty Concord, and I love this color of purple. It's so gorgeous. So you can just see here I'm going to blend that on the Dusty Concord, and the other color of purple that I choose is Shaded Lilac, which is kind of an interesting color. It's almost sort of like a bluey purple, and it just offers a really nice transition in between the blue and that Concord. So Dusty Concord. So I just love that as a transition between the tumble glass and the Dusty Concord. Here you can just see that I am blending those colors together, and I'll just go back and forth again with my purple shades and maybe a little bit more with my blue until I'm happy with how that looks. I'm just going to strengthen up that Dusty Concord, and it does take quite a while for the Distress Oxide ink to fully dry back, and it does look a little bit different when it is completely dry. So you'll notice when I get to the end of my card process and the panel has completely dried here, it does look a little bit different. Now I've die cut out those three pieces that I'm going to be using from the stamp Let's Get Crafty and the coordinating die set. You can just see the three pieces that I've previously die cut out, and now what I'm going to do is just remove those die cut pieces, and I just wanted to show you that I had die cut those, but I want to put the stamp, the coordinating stamp, into the space, and in that way, I'm going to put the little die cut piece back into that space and stamp on top of it. Now, the reason why I did that this time is because I wanted to kind of see how much room I needed on my card for those different shapes. So that kind of defined the size of my card base. So I die cut them out first to test that out. And so that's why I'm doing that in this order at this timer for this card. So you can just see there, I'm going to put each one of those stamps in there, and I'm going to close the Misty door onto the stamps, and Misty will pick those up. Now I'll put those different die cut pieces back into their space, and now they're all ready to stamp out. So I'll just go ahead and take my black ink. I have a Copic friendly ink that I am using here, and I will make sure that I link up to all of these different products. I did use my like I said, my black Copic friendly ink there to stamp these all out. You can see they're all ready to go now. And there's that beautifully blended panel. And I'm also going to use a panel of black cardstock as a frame for that beautifully blended ink panel. So you can just see that there's just this tiny little margin of black that's going to frame up that gorgeous ink blending. I'm going to use a bunch of purples and blue Copic markers here to color in my different images here, I wanted to make it look like the paint tube has purple paint in it. And I wanted to make it look like this purple paint, and on this paintbrush here, the purple paint has been used to paint out the word hello that I'm going to be using as a sentiment here. So that's why I use the purple on my brush. Plus, of course, it coordinates nicely with the inks that I use to ink blend my card front. And you can just see me here doing some really basic Copic coloring here with my purples and my blues when I get to the blue parts. And I'm just going to go ahead and get this all quickly done up. I wanted to also color in the little paint areas on the palette to make it look like this is purple paint on the palette as well. And I wanted to vary the shades of purple here that I'm using, so I do that here. To see me coloring those all out in those spaces, just doing a really single one color blend of the inks onto my white cardstock. And this is just some Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock here, which I do really like to use when I am doing my Copic coloring here. So here's the blues, the blue section. So I've got 4 little spots of purples and then 3 little areas of blue. And that is going to finish off my little palette colors there. And I am just going to finish that up, and then I'm going to add a little bit more detail to the paintbrush and the paint tubes with a little bit of gray inks here. And these are just some cool grays. I just wanted something neutral. I didn't want to bring in another color or use any more of the blue and purple. I just thought that was enough. And so you can just see I'm flicking the color in from the edge and kind of leaving a lighter area in the center of this tube to just kind of make it look a little bit more round. And I'll just continue that here. And I will come in with a lighter gray, the C0, just to finish off that highlight area in the center. And then I'm going to just go over the whole thing with the darker gray just to finish it off and blend it all out. And you can just see I'm just going to go over the top of the tube as well. And I am going to leave the very tip of the tube and the ferrule on the brush, and I am going to add a little bit of sparkle and shine there at the end of my process. So again, just trying to make it look like there's a little bit of a lighter section in the center of that paint tube. And the handle of the paintbrush, I'm just going to paint in solid. I'm not going to worry about trying to get a light or dark. Just because it's such a small area to work on, and I didn't really think that it kind of required that. So I'm just going to go over the whole thing with a little bit of my C5. Now I'm going to go ahead and use some tape runner here to adhere the black cardstock that I have trimmed out here to my white A2 size card base. So I'm just going to carefully put this on here and just eyeball it to get it on there straight. And just get that down. And I'm going to put my ink blended panel onto that with a little bit of foam adhesive. So this is some 3/4 inch foam adhesive here from 3M. I will cover the whole back of that card panel with that foam adhesive and go ahead and get that adhered down to my card front. Now I've set that aside and I'm going to work on the sentiment. This is the Bitty Buzzwords stamp and coordinating die set. I love these words. They're just a perfect size for a card front, although I do love the regular size buzzwords as well. It's really nice to have a smaller buzzword option when you're putting a sentiment on. So you can see that these are 2-step sentiments. You can put a backer piece on your sentiment as well to add a little bit more detail. You can see here that I've cut the hello out of the Team Tie-Dye 6x6 paper pad from Honeybee. And I just love this purple and blue kind of color. I thought that it coordinated very nicely with the inks that I chose. And I also cut that color or that hello out of 3 other times out of some black cardstock. And I'll layer these all together just by adding a little bit of liquid adhesive onto the back. And I've also trimmed out that frame for the word hello out of some pearlescent cardstock. I'm going to start gluing things together with my Precision Tip Honeybee glue tube. I love this glue tube, and I will link up to that as well in the description box below. And I'm going to get these all layered together and onto that backer here. And that's just going to be a really nice dimensional sentiment for the front of my card. Now I do have the paint palette and the paint tube and the paintbrush all adhered down to my card with some foam squares. And I've adhered the sentiment as well. And you can just see the idea that I was going for here is the thought that the paintbrush has painted the word hello on there. That's why I positioned the paintbrush where I did. And now I'm taking some of the Honeybee Stamps gem stickers, and these ones are the rainbow and the playful pastel set. So those are two separate sets, but with each release, Honeybee releases a new color set of these gems. These gem stickers are so awesome. You just take them off with your craft pick or the end of your scissors or whatever, and put them onto your card, and they already have the sticky on there, so you don't have to mess around with glue or anything like that. It's just a really, really super easy way to get some bling on your card. And the thing is that there's coordinating colors for absolutely every collection. All of the paper pads coordinate with the gem stickers and so on. So really love that. So here you can just see I'm going to put a bunch of those on my card just for a little bit of detail. Now I'm also going to use some Perfect Pearl splatter on my card as well. And so I'm just going to take a tiny little paintbrush here, and I'm going to splatter some of this Perfect Pearls, which I've diluted with some water. And you can just see, I'll just go ahead and tap that on. And of course, this is also going to activate the ink. So it's going to kind of make my oxide inks activate a little bit and look a little bit distressed. And it's also going to add this really pretty sparkle and shine to the card as well. I really love Perfect Pearls. I think they're a beautiful way to add just another element to your project. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that I have that all over the whole card front. So I'm not worried about where it's landing. I'm more than happy if it lands on the palette and on the paint tube, just anywhere, it doesn't matter. And so I'm just going ahead and finishing that up. And now I'm going to take some Nouveau Glaze, and I'm going to add that to each one of the little paint areas on my palette. I also add that to the paint coming out of the paint tube and to the paintbrush end as well, where the paint is on the paintbrush. And that just dries so dimensional and shiny and fun, and it's just adds so much fun to the card. I love it. Now I'm going to add some silver stickles, like I said earlier, to the ferrule of my paintbrush and to the very end of my paint tube. And that's just going to add, again, a little bit more dimension and sparkle. All of these little details that you can add to your project just really make it look cool, I think, and interesting. So there you can see all of that sparkle and shine that I've added with all of those different elements. And now I've decided that I want to add another part to the sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp the word lovely, or I have already stamped the word lovely with Versamark ink onto some black cardstock, and I heat embossed that with some white embossing powder. And I'm just taking my Honeybee fine tweezers here to add that on. I actually end up moving the word lovely down a little bit lower. And now I just wanted to add some more splatter. So this time I'm going to splatter with some more of the Dusty Concord. I've just stamped that out, and I stamped way too much out there. So I do end up picking up that excess with a little piece of white cardstock so that I could use it on another project. But I just use a little bit of it here. I've just watered it down, picking it up with the same brush that I splattered the Perfect Pearls with. And that's going to finish my card today. Thank you so much for joining me today and watching right through to the end. Please make sure that you check out all of the links in the description box below to products and to Honeybee Stamps on Facebook and Instagram, all of the different places that you can find Honeybee inspiration. Thank you so much, friends, for joining me. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you another time. Bye-bye.